Welcome to the Solidity Insurance Group team call. My name is Marisa Maggio, and today is September 25th of 2025. Super excited to have a near and dear teammate and a local teammate on the call with us today. We have Leonardo Martinez. Leo, how are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you for being on with us. I appreciate it. And I know the first call that you do can be uncomfortable, but there's a reason, guys, every week that we ask the person we ask to be on with us. In kind of looking at things and looking at the team and looking at the way business is structured and moving, et cetera, seeing the changes that Leo's made, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally, has been absolutely amazing. And these are all the kind of the changes that, to be honest, I too, Leo, had kind of made from what I've seen and what you've shared with me, that's helped me grow in the business. So I thought, who better to hear from than Leo Martinez, somebody we haven't heard from, and it's really growing within his personal production and throughout the business. So, Leo, welcome to the call, and thank you so much for being on with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate the
Of
kind words.
course. Absolutely. And just for those folks out there that maybe haven't had the chance to meet you yet, Leo, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you were doing prior to the insurance industry and really what got you into it and why you chose FFL.
So before Family First Life, I worked in the call center industry for a long time. I started on the phones and worked my way up. I became the director of a call center for a lead generation company. I was making a little over $100,000 a year, and then one day my boss informed me that he could no longer pay my commissions. So my commissions were about 50% of my pay. So I went from making $100,000 to making, a little less than 50,000 overnight. So I said, F this, I'm out of here. So I started looking for jobs, mainly in the call center industry. I didn't land any, so I ended up working selling solar panels. And during that interview for solar panels, they said, oh, we would have 2 to 3 appointments for you per day. But once you get done with the crazy training, you realize there weren't enough appointments to go around. So, I was making their base pay, which was like $500 a week, and we would get paid bi-weekly. So it was like $800 every other week. So like $26,000 a year, right? So then I left there after like 2 months or so, and I started working for a company that sold grow supplies to marijuana cultivations. That was pure commission. So my job was to get in touch with the decision makers and set up an appointment for that person to speak to one of our sales guys. So if the sales guy closed it, then I would get paid a commission. Um, it was very difficult, setting these appointments because again, you got to get in touch with the decision makers, so they were hard to get a hold of. You had to go through all the gatekeepers. But I did set up a few appointments and none of them closed. So I made in 3 months, I made $0 there, right? So I ended up leaving there and I started working at Walmart just to have some extra money or just to have any money at all as a Spark driver doing deliveries. And, I would make maybe $150 in 10 hours if I was lucky, you know. And there was always something wrong with my Jeep because I was putting, that constant wear and tear on it, and all while I was working all these jobs, I was applying to call center jobs. One company was offering 95K. They put me through 3 rounds of interviews. I thought I had the job, then they completely ghosted me. Another company was in the medical field. It was work from home, call center management, but then they lost interest once I told them I wasn't vaccinated. Um, then, you know, um, like I said, as I was applying for all these jobs, I kept seeing life insurance jobs pop up. So I thought to myself, if I get licensed, all these hundreds of companies, somebody's going to hire me, right? So as I started studying for the test, I was randomly recruited by somebody at a three-letter company on LinkedIn. So I started working for them for a month after I got licensed, and I kind of realized what that was. My upline said, get yourself, there was no training. He just said, get 10 friends and family members, get them to agree to doing a Zoom call with me and yourself, and that's your training. You'll learn from me. Um, he didn't close any of them, but if he did, they were only offering me 30% compensation. And obviously the manager would keep, the majority of that, right? Of that sale. So once I figured that out, I left there and then I finally applied to Family First Life. Rami gave me a call, and here I am, and I couldn't ask for a better team and a better group of people.
Hey, well, you have quite the background, and I do want to just say, like, I applaud you because through life, like, we all go through like good, bad, and indifferent moments. And it seems like, Leo, like, you went through those good, bad, and indifferent moments, but it's how you kind of show yourself now that, speaks volumes of where you're at, right? So just hats off to you. And also hats off to you for being like, hey, like, I got to get out of here. My pay just got cut in half, right? Like, I
Yeah,
got to get out of here. Like, there's not enough leads to go around. I have to get out of here because essentially, like, I'm not getting paid for 4 weeks, right? Like, different things are going to lead to different places. Now, guys, what I love about Leo's story is, Leo, you're predominantly, like, in a way, like, commission, right?
yeah, yeah.
No matter what you were doing. And I think
Hmm.
that that speaks volumes of who you are because it shows that you have self-belief, right? Even like all the way down to Walmart. It's like you're still working for yourself, right? Like you're still
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
what
yeah.
Leo said he's going to do, right? So I think that it's amazing that you went into all these different avenues and it led you here. Here you are. That being said, coming into the industry in your first couple of months, we all know it can be a bit challenging. Just like you said, your practice company, if you will. I'm very happy that you identified that. Like, hey, this doesn't seem right. Because some people don't, like at me, until it's too late. Like, till you're 2 years in and you're like, wait, what have I been doing? You identified that quickly and got into family first life. So that makes me so happy just for you. But in your first couple of months, what were some of the hardest things, really just to kind of get like a grasp of that are important, day to day?
So I think the first thing coming in is you're overwhelmed by the amount of information, the amount of information that like you feel like you don't know. And I know you guys are very big about learning on the job, and I completely get it. You don't want to overload new people with all this information because they'll probably run for the hills. So that can be very intimidating. You want to sound like you know what you're talking about, but you're not going to. You know.
Yeah.
The second thing that comes to mind is being on Zoom and observing how some of the top producers communicate with newer reps. They're very direct, so it could be a little intimidating, when you're just starting out. But it's important to understand that their intention is to help you succeed. Even when they don't have a direct, stake in your performance, they generally want to see you do well. And you don't get that at every company, right? So, personally, I found that challenging at first because coming from a management background where my communication style was different, that took some adjusting for me, right? And then third, the way that you talk to clients here, I'm still getting used to that. You have to be very firm, you have to be very direct, so don't waste your time. So I struggle with that at first because I'm just very polite by nature. But once you get enough people telling you, I just want to quote, enough people hanging up on you 40 minutes into the conversation, not wanting to give you social, not wanting to give you banking, once you deal with enough of that ridiculousness, you start becoming like that, you turn into that person. And then, it becomes a lot easier to be that way. And then when you start, there's the obvious, how the hell are all these people making so much money here? Is this possible for me? And you got to find that belief in yourself that you can do this too. You know?
Hey, I love that. And I think that those are like some like huge points that every new agent bumps into. Like I know that I was there when I was new, even new to Family First Life, never mind the industry, right? Um, so there's a lot of information, right? We're huge on the job learning, which guys, we know that can be intimidating, but to Leo's point, it's like we're just trying to show you how to be that direct in the beginning, right? And I love how you said seeing how like the communication is on Zoom, like there's sometimes no merit in somebody making that sale, but they're helping the agent make that sale because it's like this is how we do it. Also the directness. Like Leo, when I met you, I was like, he's polite, just like how I am by nature. Just like, hey, how are you? Thank you. Like, right? Like, thank you. How are you? Like all those things, guys. And here's the thing. There's probably a lot of people on this call that are like, I'm polite too. Guys, stay polite, but go firm, right? Because to Leo's point, it's up to you how many times you're going to deal with the ridiculousness of like, well, I just needed some quotes from 14 people. And, I'm not going to give my social security number over the phone. Why we're so firm in different areas, or I have to talk to my wife, even though I told you at the beginning of the call that I didn't have to. It's like all of these things, we're just trying to help you learn. And it is intimidating in the beginning, right? To be like, to say some of the things and repeat them back. But Leo, you've been doing it and I've seen you grow so much, especially over the last, 60 to 90 days, right? You've been a lot more, I feel like, plugged in, and it seems like you're getting a lot better of a result for yourself and for your personal production. What were some of the biggest things you'd say that maybe you changed or you do differently within the last 60 to 90 days?
Well, first, it did help that my girl, she left her job and she's just focusing on her business now. So she has like an online business where she sells clothes on Poshmark. So she's home now. Before, I used to have to pick up the kids every day after school, cook, bathe them, do their homework, go to their games, etc. So her being home, took a lot off my plate, so because I was basically a stay-at-home dad with a work from home job, you know, and she used to work retail, so she wouldn't be home till 9 p.m., 10 p.m., so it was tough. So, I would be working, the kids would be fighting in the next room. I was afraid that they'd end up in the hospital, so her being home and her seeing my results, recently where I started making more money, that's helped a lot, so, actually being able to contribute financially, has given me a lot more leverage in my household, and, getting yourself to believe in something when you aren't making much money is difficult, but getting someone else to believe in you, that expects you to hold, your weight financially is even more difficult, right? So that was a challenge. Besides that, just committed myself, to putting in the activity every day, no matter what the result was. I think that was tough. Even when you're doing well, that's tough. If you sell two policies before 2 p.m., which rarely happens for me, by the way, but if you do, you still got to go and work the rest of the day, right? And stay committed to your schedule. You can't just go and take the rest of the day off. You still have to put in that activity because the activity will pay off. So, when you're down those leads that you think are dead, and then all of a sudden, a person that you called 1,000 times, all of a sudden they answer, and then that's a sale, it's crazy, but you're not going to get there, without the activity, you know. And I also I FaceTime audio the hell out of people too. If they got an iPhone, call goes straight to voicemail. And, I look it up on my phone. If it's an iPhone, then I'll just FaceTime them. A lot of people pick up. But ultimately, this isn't easy. It's a grind. It's about mental fortitude, but at the end of the day, you're sitting on your ass at home in a climate controlled environment, talking to people, we aren't mining coal here, you know.
No doubt, 100%. And honestly, like that was jam-packed. And Leo, I genuinely appreciate you just being like open and honest on this call about what things looked like, right? You said I was like a stay-at-home dad with a work from home job. And I think that that's really powerful to say, right? You were like, I was worried about like what's happening with the kids. Like, are they safe? Are they fighting with each other? And I know like just from being a kid that me and my sister used to like fight with each other, like, as often as possible at one point or another, right? So I can imagine that that was a lot going on, so to say, in the background, but also the buy-in that you have from, your significant other. There's nothing better than somebody being there, like saying like, oh, wow, like you're doing this, it's working. And like, I think I'm actually going to run my business at home so I can be home with the kids. So you can run your business at home and you can work from home without more have to worry about being a dad during those particular hours, right? And that's huge. Of course, you're always going to worry about being a dad, but you don't have to worry too much because you know they're in good hands, right? And there's nothing like getting somebody else like to believe in you. And guys, that might sound corny, but it could be your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your uncle, your best friend. And when you get started at this thing, most people are not going to believe in you. Like, Leo, I remember when I got started, I came home and I didn't work at FFL, right? But I came home and I had lived just with Christina. Her and I had an apartment. And I had like this like packet, right? And I was like, Christina, so I got this job and like I was all excited and like I didn't understand it was commission, by the way, just so y'all are rocking with me. And I was like, so like this is what I'm gonna get paid every week. And it's like this like fake diagram, right? And it was like showing I was gonna get paid. And at the time I was fresh out of college, Leah. So I was showing I was gonna get paid like $4,500 a week. And I was like, look, I'm gonna make this. And Christina wasn't like hating on me. She was just like, okay, but like, how do you make that? And I was like, I got all mad at her. I was like, I don't know, Christina. I just like show up and like do what they asked me to do, and like I don't know, I don't know. And then I got all upset, right? And I was like, I was like, maybe I should find out, though, right? So it took me like 3 weeks to find out. But my point is when you have that belief from somebody else, because guys, I was terrible at selling life insurance when I first started. Like, I didn't sell life insurance for about like a month. I think I sold my first policy like literally like a month and a half in, but I also wasn't sitting in this platform to Leo's point. But through those couple of weeks, what I will say is I'm thankful that I lived with Christina at that time because she was instilling belief into me. She's like, hey, like you'll get to that number on the piece of paper. Don't worry, even though I won't buy insurance from you, but you'll get there, right? I had somebody in my corner. And when you have somebody in your corner, and most importantly, you're in your corner, right? You believe in you. You're unstoppable. But now it's up to you. And Leo, you led right to activity, right? Activity daily. Like you're like, look, like it's mental fortitude, but we're not mining coal. Like you said, we're in a climate controlled place. We're calling people who ask for our help, and some of them are going to tell us to fly a kite. Five of them might tell us that in a row, but then it might be just that one person that answers that's just ready to talk to you that day. And guys, you'll never find that diamond in the rough, so to say, unless you're looking for it all the time, aka your activities at a crazy high level. Um, Leo, one thing you mentioned was the FaceTime audio, and I think that that's interesting because I think a lot of people get really hung up on like, oh my gosh, like that's weird. I'm gonna FaceTime them. Just to like help folks kind of to clarify, we're not FaceTiming them like they can see you on video. We're just calling them through the audio. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people pick up,
I was gonna say, and
surprisingly.
like,
Yeah.
if you had like 10 people, Leo, that maybe you can't get a hold of because it goes right to like the voicemail, and you call them on FaceTime audio, like, how many of them do you think you'll get in touch with by the end of the day?
I want to say six, I think, off
Okay,
the
like
top of
more
my
than
head.
half.
I think so. Yeah. And
Yeah,
and they're not like pissed off that you FaceTime audio either. I think a lot of the old people they don't even realize that you're FaceTime audio. They
that
just
part.
yeah, they just know their phone is ringing, you know.
Yep. And they know they have a call blocker on it, so they're like, I'm
It
probably
never
supposed
rings.
to.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, I'm probably
Yeah.
supposed to answer this call.
Uh,
So guys, like get creative, but implement those things. Those are like the small changes we talk about that change everything. So like if you're not doing that, start today. Start doing it today.
yeah, I got that.
Um,
I got that from Rami, by the way, so I can't take credit for that.
hey, you know what? This is the best thing about this business, Leo, is everything is copycat, right? It's like the
Yeah.
best copycat wins. So I'm giving you credit for that, all right? You get credit. But all jokes aside, you talked a bit about this, but how important is it having a non-negotiable set schedule and a reoccurring lead order?
Yeah, so the schedule is just activity, right? If you commit
Yep.
to a certain schedule, then you're going to have a certain amount of activity if you're actually working throughout that schedule. The leads, that's everything because, as you purchase leads every week, they start to compound. A pack that you might have bought, 2 weeks ago, you're just now getting a hold of a person for the first time, and then that turns into a sale. But no matter what your results are, you got to keep buying those leads, so you keep having those contacts. When I first started, big problem of mine was like I used to milk the hell out of a 40 pack of vet leads, for like a month and a half. So I was really good at trying to squeeze every ounce of juice out of one lead order. So I'd work that for a month and not buy any leads, and you start getting frustrated because there's certain people that just won't pick up in there. But that's a recipe for failure, here. So once you start purchasing leads every week, you definitely start seeing the results. You just have to have that belief, that you're gonna sell them, that it's gonna work out. Because it's really easy for that doubt to creep in, but once you do it enough, consistently enough, you start believing more and more in yourself, and then you know that you can repeat that.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think that that's huge. The last part, what you said, right? Like once you do this long enough, that's why we talk about like your first 100 appointments, right? You kind of heard everything at that point that you're not like, oh my God, I'm so shocked that Betty had insurance already and hung up on me or whatever it might have been. You're kind of equipped for it, so to say. Um, And guys, I think there's a key kind of indicator here that we hear all the time, and it's from when an agent goes from like here to like here. And it's always like I milked that 40 pack of leads, right? And like I've milked that 40 pack of leads, and guys, you're a liar if you're on here acting like you never milked the 40 pack of leads. You're just lying to yourself right now. So, guys, lead flow literally is cash flow. The more leads you have, the more at bats you're going to have, the more likely you are to, see success. But at the end of the day, it's always going to come back to your belief in the system, your belief in the business, and your belief in yourself. So make sure you're analyzing those things. And if you have people around you that are like knocking you down, like get them away from you. You don't need negativity right now, that's for sure. Now, Leo, obviously prior to coming in, you've had a lot of life experience, right? Like you've been in different places, you made good money, like, you've been established in a career path. Um, that being said, how difficult was it to come into a space where you didn't have all the answers and you had to ask for help? And like, what did that look like for you kind of coming in versus what does that look like for you now?
Yeah, so I think that goes back to what we talked about earlier. I think my experience as a manager, being used to delivering a message to people a certain way, and getting accustomed to a message being delivered differently was tough for me. So, being able to take criticism no matter what that sounds like and not take it personal, so that would keep me from asking questions sometimes, when I first started, to be honest, and now I don't care, but in the beginning that was definitely a problem for me. And then, it's just tough in general coming into something new for like the fourth time in a row, having to learn a new skill. I used to train people on how to do telemarketing, but we weren't asking for socials in banking, right? Um, the rebuttal jump straight into a question thing. I used to train, hundreds of people on how to do that. So taking control of the conversation, I understood that, but the sales part, just not because that's not what I did. So, when I first started, I would recite the script, pretty much just word for word, throwing no personality in there. It was just like purely transactional, right? Then, like you said earlier, it's a copy cat game, right? So I started copying what others were saying. When I send my ID, I say, you see my big bald head? I got that from Eric Smith. When they're married, oh, how long you been married for? Oh, wow, that's a long time. What's your secret? I got that from Afro when she was on one of these calls. When you ask for their height and weight, oh, is that all muscle? I don't know who started that one. I know I heard Bree say it and I stole that, but it works. People start laughing. Oh, you're like most veterans. You want to make sure that when you pass, Marisa receives a check and doesn't have to write one. I got that from Rami. There's another guy here on Zoom that says, oh, when someone has high blood pressure, he says, oh, once you get married and you have kids, everyone's got high blood pressure. Clint, he says, oh, is that your favorite daughter or is that your only daughter? So I stole all these little phrases and it helped me turn, what a script into more of a conversation because people react to those little corny things and they start talking, and then you start connecting with them more, as opposed to it just being just a script, just you going line for line and it just sounding like a transaction. It becomes more of a conversation, and starting from scratch is very difficult. I worked for a company as a call center manager for 13 years, and that was taken away just like that, right? And the beautiful thing about what we do here is, we create our own destiny here. So I hired and trained hundreds of people for someone else, and the most I ever made was 118,000 in one year. If I did that here for myself, I'd be a millionaire, right?
100%. And Leo, I know you will do it for yourself, and I know that's just a matter of time, but I love how you're saying too, because it's important, guys. It's like we know everyone kind of packages things different from a leadership stance, right? Like Leo, what I hear you saying is like my package, so to say, looked a little bit different than how y'all package things. And like that's okay, right? We all got a different package. But at the beginning, guys, it's really easy to take the criticism and to take it personally, or even like when a client hangs up on you to take it personally. But when you're getting the feedback from like anybody else, someone who's giving you feedback and heard your call, like the best thing you can remember is like that person's just trying to help you, and they're not trying to hurt you, right? So I get that. Like, and I love how you're able to be like, I was not always having an easy time with taking the criticism. I wasn't always having an easy time with somebody saying, like, you could have done better, right? Like, I wasn't having an easy time with that. But in learning and picking up different things and then kind of getting past that is kind of what I hear you saying, Leo. Like, I've gotten better, right? I've gotten better. I've picked up one-liners that I throw in there so that the script doesn't sound so like transactional and it sounds more like a genuinely flowing conversation, right? Because once you have those key things down, guys, it's like that's when you can be like Leo and you can add in your own personality. You can add in those kickers. You can add in like you see my bald head there, right? Like you can add all those things in and it's going to give your call more character probably than the person who's going to call them next, right? So like, guys, that's huge. And also just understanding like the script to a conversation. And Leo, I think that that's huge psychologically speaking. Guys, it's one thing to read the script or to be able to look at, not even have to look at the script and read it. It's another thing to understand what's happening and why we're asking the questions, right? And Leo's like, I wasn't confused on that part. It was just the sales process part where I needed to get the social, the bank, and all this personal information that was a little bit different than what I was used to, which is completely normal. But at this point, Leo's like, hey, I got it down because I understood like it was up to me to get it down, right? So at one point, I was like, you know what? It doesn't seem like they're trying to hurt nobody. I'm going to take the criticism, I'm going to try to apply it, and I'm going to move on daily. And I'm going to listen to the people who are doing better than me, and I'm going to apply those things daily too. So even just like what you just dropped, Leo, like that was fire. Like you just gave me like 18 one-liners. I'm like, run that back whenever you need a one-liner. Like he has all the good ones in there. Um,
Thank you.
so that's huge and that's awesome. And now, Leo, right? Like there's gonna be, have you had a day that was like it felt like it was like a bad day? It wasn't your best day?
About a week.
That a week. There we go.
Hmm.
Even better. So to
Yeah.
that point, when things that kind of felt like tough for you, or really tough for you, why have you chose to stay versus going to a like a plan B, if you will?
Ultimately for me, plan B is going to a job where, I would absolutely be miserable, like going to a regular job. So, I just want more out of life. And I love the freedom that we have here, though that freedom can be like a double-edged sword, right? Because you have to stay disciplined, or you won't succeed. But that's basically it for me. I don't want to do something where I'm not making, a certain kind of money, at least the money I know I'm capable of making. And I'm not building if a better life for my kids, right? And Trey said something on one of these calls, that resonated with me. He was like, you know, I'm old enough to know how difficult it is to make money, right? So I really think that's what it comes down for me. There's a lot of people here making some serious money, and I was just like, why can't I be one of them?
Absolutely. And that's huge. And what I will say is like as I am getting older and going through life, so to say, it's like that life experience is everything, right? It's like there's nothing that can match that. Like you went through what you went through and that's what you have ahead of everybody else. Um, I love how you said you're not going to go to a plan B because like you know what you're capable of making, right? You even talked about, hey, I made 118,000 kind of at my highest, and I know if I put that same work here, I'd make over 1 million, like easy. Like you didn't even flinch when you had said that, Leo, right? It's like you're like I'm not confused. Like I can do that here, right? And guys, it's like that's what it's about though. Like are you going to persevere during the hard times or are you going to be like this sucks, like my upline sucks, the lead suck, the system sucks, like or are you going to be like, hey, like maybe I can wake up tomorrow and like do a little bit things a little bit better or just stick to my schedule, stick to my activity, stick to doing what I said I was going to do versus like bumming yourself out on a Monday because you did 10 presentations and you went 0 for 10. It's going to happen to the best of us, guys. It's just about what happens when you show up that next day. So I love that. And now I always talk about this, and guys, I scream about this because, and this might even push people away, and that's not what I'm intending to do, but I'm just putting facts out there right now, okay? So I always talk about survival of the fittest in this industry, right? Survival of the fittest happens everywhere. It's happening outside right now. It's happening in your house. It's happening, right? It's just that's life, is survival of the fittest. That's the same thing that's happening in this industry every single day. People who are not fit to be in the industry are going to get pushed out of the industry in one way, shape, or form. Now, I always talk about that, Leo, and 92% of agents don't get through their first year in life insurance, right? And I think that that's a huge stat that if you're on this call and you're in your first 12 months, are you going to be part of the 92% or are you going to be part of the 8%, right? That stays. Like, which side are you going to choose? Because what I can tell you guys is when you're in this industry and actually working it for like a full year, things look a lot different in a year and they feel a lot different in a year. So, why do you think perseverance is important in this business? Like, why do you think it's like so important to persevere in this business based off of kind of that stat, Leo?
Well, you're not gonna have like a constant state of happiness here, right? You're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have bad moments. There's times, like the kids say, that I fumble the bag, right? Um, but I try to learn from those moments and ask, what can I do better, right? So if you expect there to be no stress, for every day to be amazing here, that's an unrealistic expectation, right? But at the same time, you can have some really amazing days here, right? And make more money than you ever dreamed of. So the bad days, the ignorant people, being cussed out, being hung up on, people not answering, it just makes it so you can get to those good days, and it's all worth it.
Absolutely. So it's almost like when you're going through those t like tougher times, so to say, on the phones, or you're not having like your best day on the phones, whatever it might be, you kind of know the numbers are going to make up for it. You're like, all right, like this is, I'm rocking because I know that it's going to make up for this. And guys, it's like no matter where you work, at least from like my personal experience, like you're gonna have those stressful days. You're gonna have days that weren't so good. Whether you work here, you work in corporate America, you serve tables, it's just about not giving up. It's about not giving in, and it's about making those small adjustments, right? Like Leo said, like how the kids say, fumble the bag, right? Like you might fumble the bag, but how are you gonna not fumble it tomorrow, right? Like that's what this is about. It's an ongoing learning experience. And that's the best and the worst part about this industry. But once you got it, like you got it. And Leo, like you got it, bro. Like you got it. Like that's why
Thank you.
you're on the call right now. I'm excited for you.
Appreciate it.
Now, couple of questions to wrap up with. What's one piece of advice you'd give to any agent that's brand new on this call or maybe kind of struggling within their business?
If you're not buying leads every week, then that's why you're struggling. If you're buying new leads every week and you're still struggling, then you need to unmute. If you can get to a point, where you have a fund for leads, where everything that you're making at first, you can take that and reinvest it back into the business, then you have a very good chance of winning. But that all starts with belief in yourself. That's at the root of everything. You're betting on yourself. Some see that as a gamble, but once you sell consistently, for long enough, it just becomes routine. And again, like I said earlier, if you buy leads, you're gonna sell, and you have that belief. Also, like for IULs in particular, the ones the IUL leads with Americal and Mutual. If you can do a soft check before you give out those prices, um, if you're not sure, even if you think they're gonna qualify, they might have lied to you. But if you can do a soft check before giving them the prices, and then if they don't qualify, then you can pivot to whole life, and it makes that pivot easier as opposed to giving them the prices beforehand and then trying to pivot to something that's more expensive. You also want to master the end of the call objections. The social objection, the bank objection, and the I have to think about it. The more that you can overcome those three at the end, the more successful you'll become. And then lastly, I want to say, I know you asked for one, but I want to give a couple. Um,
Love it.
don't believe anything that people say. These people will sit through the entire pitch. They're going to sound very convincing, like they're generally interested, and then they're going to tell you they have to think about it, or I don't have my routing and account number, and then you go to call them back, they don't pick up their phone, or you finally get them on the line and they say, "Oh no, I decided not to go through with it." So you have to take all your swings while you have them on the phone, that one time, even if you're going to lose a sale, but you got to try your hardest to get it there at the end. And that's something that I struggled with when I started being that pushy at the end there. But you learn from experience that you're just not getting these people back on the phone, or if you do, they're not interested, you know.
Absolutely. And honestly, like those are some like huge, like just takeaways, guys. Like I love how Leo opened with like if you're not buying leads, like that's your problem. And if you are buying new leads each week and you're not getting a result, then you're not unmuting, and that's your problem. It's like, guys, like that's like I will say, like that's like 80% of the team's problems right there. Like respectfully. Like we all got the same problems because we're all doing the same thing and duplicating it, right? It's the best and the worst thing about it. Um, I also love how you said the soft check. Guys, sometimes we're like pitching an IUL or like, and the person's like probably not going to qualify. Just soft check them, right? Like to Leo's point, let's just make your life easy. If you're not a good pivoter, which to be honest, like we're typically not, and you're better off soft checking. That way you actually know what they qualify for. And don't believe what people say. Like that is huge. Like people that I never talk to anybody about life insurance. And then you're like midway through, Leo, and they're like, well, last week I was on the phone and somebody told me that you could do like a double indemnity. And you're like, I thought you never talked to anybody about life insurance, right? So like, don't believe anything that people say. And then the part about at the end, right? Like take all your swings. Like at that point, guys, the way I had to look at it and frame it in my brain to be able to kind of go back and forth, especially on the phone, being in the home for so many years and having a direct contact with somebody, it's different, right? And that being said, it's like sometimes at the end I would be like frozen up something I have to think about it. I'm like I wasn't even expecting them to say that, but here we are, right? So it's like being able to push there. And what I had to do is trick my brain to think if I'm on the phone with, Leo and he's looking to make sure that, his three children are okay. I think about it at the end like I'm swinging for the children. I'm pushing for the children. I'm pushing for the beneficiary. Like I'm pushing because if something happens tomorrow, like the beneficiary is genuinely not going to be okay. And when I was able to view it in that way in my brain, it almost kind of flopped things for me. And I was able to be like really direct and just like, hey, Leo, you got nothing in place. Like, what do we need to think about here? Like, nothing for you to think about because we don't know if you qualify, right? So, guys, Leo, I know you're super proactive now in the beginning, but we're always going to get those weird things at the end. And being able to handle them is huge. In mastering what Leo just said, those three things, which were at the end, I need to think about it, the social security objection, and the banking objection. It's like once you can kind of learn how to flow past those things or get through those things, are you going to get through them 100% of the time? No. But are you going to get through them a lot more if you push? A lot more than 0%? Absolutely. I would say about at least 50 to 60%. And as you get better with skill, up to 80% or so. So it's like push. To Leo's point, don't do the follow up. The follow up appointment is a way of them being like, you're really nice, Leo, and I don't want to tell you no. So I'm just going to schedule a follow up and I'm going to act like I don't have my bank account. And I'm going to be like, I don't know. I'm at my house, but I left it at my sister's house. Like it's like sometimes guys, when people say things that don't make sense, call them out on it, right? And Leo, it seems like you're getting really good at that. So I love to see it. And guys, I really want to just reiterate what Leo led with for the advice, which was, are you buying leads every week that are new? And are you unmuting? Because if you're not doing those two things, it's going to be really difficult for you to get any better than you are right now. Okay. And Leo, just to kind of, wrap up the call, what are your goals wrapping up 2025? And, whether it's business, personal, both, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my first goal was to get through this call. Um,
Here we are.
but so my goal is to write at least, 40,000 a month every month for the rest of the year. And then I want to hire at least three people, bring them onto my team, and have at least three people go to convention in 2026. And then I want to start adding some structured IULs into the mix, go the Vernon route. And then for next year, I want to hit Hall of Fame. I want that red jacket. I want to build a massive team. And then lastly, I want to get Rami off my back about post-dating so many policies. I'm working on getting better on that.
Awesome. I love that. So, you got through the call, Leo, and you did an amazing job. As always, I genuinely appreciate it. But 40K a
Thank you.
month of course, 40K a month every month till the end of the year. Bringing at least three people to convention with you. And Leo, based off of even just like, if I didn't know you at all, just based off of this call, it's like you could hire the world with the experience you already have in this experience, putting them together, it's like the perfect storm, like for you to build a team. So I'm excited for you in the future, excited to
Thank you.
see those IULs pop out, and also just as excited as Rami to see you killing those post dates, okay? One day at a time. And what I do know is in 2026, Leo, if you want to hit Hall of Fame and you even want to hit Agency Hall of Fame, meaning your group does 10 million or more in that year, I'm not confused that you can absolutely do that. So I'm super excited for you, Leo. I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to be on this call, get uncomfortable, and pour into other people. You're amazing. And it's truly, I'm blessed to be in business with you. So thank you, Leo.
Thanks so much. Likewise, I appreciate you guys.